Slack and he Major welcome you to the My Type of Hype podcast, where we celebrate hip-hop, not just the hype.
How y'all feel out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip-hop and not just the hype. As you can see, there's a missing face today. Slack's away today, but me and Potter are going to hold down the fort today. So, yes, welcome. Potter, what are you saying, bro? How are you, man?
Yeah, doing my best without the extra man. So hopefully it will all go well today. And Potter, aka Reggie McWorthy, aka the Loose Cannon, aka Nicholas Page.
There we go, man. So we're here. That makes my major sound very boring, but yeah, we're here, man. So what's happening? It's good.
I need extra help, man. You've got like a nickname. I'm just Potter. So,
bro, it's one of those ones that just develop over time, innit? Because to 99% of the world, I'm eating it. So it's just, it is. But we're here, man. We're here. So yeah, it's going to be a good one this week. So we're going to switch up the title a little bit. So we're going to call this episode "I'll Die on That Hill." But for the sake of censorship and all of that stuff, we'll just call it "Alone on That Hill." But real heads know it's "I'll Die on That Hill." And most of you know, we don't want YouTube to come and lock it off or something, not knowing what it's about. But you know how it goes.
Promoting suicidal tendencies.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly that, bro. So most of you know what that sentence means. It's an opinion that you feel you may be one of the only people to have. But you're sticking to your guns with it, man. Don't matter what people say, that's what you believe. So even though Slack's not here today, he has sent in his choices. So you're still gonna have all three of our choices. So it should be a good one. So yeah, man, it's like that. So I say we get straight into it, man. So
yeah,
Potter, you wanna kick us off, bro?
Yeah, all right. I rarely get to go first, so I'm gonna go in strong with this one. Gonna probably ruffle some feathers, I think, but DJ Quick is a better producer and better artist than Dr. Dre.
Okay, all right. I mean,
so
I know why you're saying that musically.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do with it, man. I think Quick's an actual musician. I think rather than like I guess Dre's more of a producer and engineer, I suppose. And I think Quick, I think we sort of discussed this when we did a West Coast thing a few while ago, but like I think Quick's gonna not get his flowers until he's gone. I don't think the amount of stuff he's produced for people outside of hip hop has been phenomenal, but not really spoken about. I think his album run is brilliant. I think the albums he's produced on for like other artists are phenomenal. Even just little things that you wouldn't expect. Like, so I got a 8-Ball and MJG album from when they were on Bad Boy briefly. There's a tune on one of them called Buck Bounce, which DJ Quick produced, and it is one of the most bonkers beats I've ever heard in my life. Everything he does, from like his early albums to the stuff on All Eyes on Me to like rhythmalism and balance and options, I think that was probably musically his peak. And I'm not saying Dre's rubbish by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's been kind of, I don't know, there's like a legend around Dre now. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of indestructible. You can't really say anything negative about him, and you know the stuff he does is good. Like, but realistically, he's got 2-3 albums, and they're all completely different because they're from completely different eras of hip hop. Whereas Quick's, I'm not saying it's all the same, but like there's consistency. There's his musical style that you get to hold on to. And I just think Dre's not as good as he used to be, man. Like that new Snoop album is not all that. Like I thought Compton there was a couple of bangers on that, but overall it was all right, as good, but like it wasn't what you'd be expecting from Dr. Dre 16 years after 2001. And I just think I love a perfectionist, but I think you can overdo it. And I think there's probably well, it's not probably, there is, we know for a fact there's a whole bunch of unreleased music from really dope artists, including him, that we're never going to see just because he doesn't want us to hear it, which I don't know. Music's music, man. Like, just get it out there. Like, I don't, if it's 99% of your listeners are not going to notice what level that snare is on.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I feel you, man. I think for me, I think Quick's dope. There's undeniable. For me, the only reason why I can't not agree, but the only reason why I would struggle to put Quick on that level is just I don't think he's had the impact. I'm not saying that his production isn't as good, but just the impact ain't there. Like, if people are naming Quick for classics, majority of the time they'll be personal classics. Like, whereas Dre's got undeniable, do you know what I mean? Like uber classics, you know what I'm saying? So it feels a bit like that's the only reason why I think, and you're right, the legendary status around Dre is that. It's become that. I think it's warranted, but I think it's just one of those ones where I think it's just the impact is undeniable. And I hear you with the not being as good, but for me, I feel when you've got to that point, it's like Snoop dropping Missionary, or I don't know, any of the proper legends dropping music. I don't get disappointed when it's not that great, because I feel like, not they've done enough, that's the wrong thing to say, but I feel like their legacy is cemented. Like, nothing they do now is gonna ruin that for me. So if it's good, it's like a you know what I mean, like a bonus. But the only other thing I was going to mention as well in regards to that is that this is in favor of Quick here, is that you don't hear no ghost producing rumors of Quick. You know what I mean? And like you said, he's an instrumentalist. He makes music. But I feel like with Dre, sometimes you hear like there's 1,000 other, 100 other producers doing their bits. You know, there's some rumors that Scott Storch produced some of Dre's the stuff he takes credit for. You don't hear none of that with Quick. Do you know what I'm saying? So they're the only things that sometimes will make me question. But I've had this discussion with Slack before and on the podcast. I don't jump on the rumor mill. So unless Dre stands and says, I didn't produce this, you know, people have said Ghost didn't write, Supreme Clientele and all these different. Unless I know that's cemented, I'm going to take it as you wrote it, you produced it, whatever. But yeah, no, that's a good shout. I hear that. That's I hear that, man. I think there'll probably be a lot of people out there that would agree.
I think there'll probably be more people that disagree, but that is the whole point of me being on this hill, innit? So
exactly that.
I just like it's just, you know, from artist wise, I think as an artist, I just think Quick's better. I think he's more talented. But it's you know, from a producer point of view, I would understand the arguments that slant towards Dre. Personal preference, Quick, but as an artist, I think Quick's better.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. I'm cool with that. Okay, I'll go and then we'll drop one from Slack. So I'm going to start off with I've got Nas down a couple of times in my choices actually for different reasons. But I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the fact that, and I'll die on this hill. Nas's I Am is a dope project, and to be honest with you, bro, it really annoys me, man, the amount of times that everyone wants to just diss the album. I know what people say, you know, if we got the album that we was meant to get, okay, cool. But like I said,
it's the third album, right?
Yes, after
the Tutankhamun head on the front.
That's right, the third one, 1999. But we got to get a different version.
Nas's Life is on that. Nas's
That's
Life
right,
is on that one?
Nas's Life, yeah. For me, man, I'll be honest with you, I hear so much people diss that album, and they say, oh, you know, we should have got the one that was bootlegged and blah blah, and what turned out to be a lot of what was the one? What was the one he put out, the mixtape one? Gone blank.
It was like the Lost Tapes. Was it the Lost?
Yeah, Lost Tapes.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is meant to be that and rah. But for me, bro, like I said with the rumors, I'm just dealing with what we've got. And if I'm just looking at what we've got, For me, I can tell you, 99. Listen, do you know how much that album was in rotation? For everyone knows how I feel about It Was Written. That's cool.
Yeah,
It's my favorite Nas album. But for me, it's top 5. I think it's an incredible album. If I'm just looking at it
top
again
5
now,
album.
Top
5 album for you of all time
from Nas. No, from Nas. From Nas, not all time. No, not all time. But from Nas, I mean, like New York State of Mind. This is another little sub. I'll die on that hill because I think New York State of Mind Part 2 is better than Part 1. And I know I'm probably going to be, in the minority there. But yeah, New York State of Mind Part 2. I think the intro is incredible to the album. I love it. The snippets of the old songs in that. Small World. Love that song. Favor for a Favor with Scarface. We Will Survive. Ghetto Prisoners. Yeah. Life But You Make It with DMX. I hate Dr. Not Beat, but still. Big Things. I think it's cool. Nas is like probably my top 5 Nas song of all time. Probably my top 3, to be honest with you. Just incredible. Kissing, I think, is a dope song. Money Is My Bitch, Undying Love. Or I think Nas's I Am is an incredible album, man. And the amount of people I see give it stick for me just confuses me because I think it's a dope album, man, and nothing's going to change my mind to that.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree. Like I'm not as big of a fan of like, it's weird. Like I like Nas, I respect him, but I'm not really in. I don't really ever have one. Oh, chuck on that Nas album, like I don't really have days on that. But he is a phenomenal MC. No doubt. And I think maybe that album gets the shit it does. Maybe because the lead single was Hate Me Now. Fucking awful. And just Dr. Knockboots being on there is just a weird choice.
Dr. Knockboots is terrible, man.
It's almost as bad as You Owe Me.
Yeah. I'd actually take You Owe Me over that.
Well, actually, yeah, because Genuine's on You Owe Me, isn't it? Do you know what, man? I'm not going to hate on you for that. Like, I think it's probably underrated, but I think it's one of them ones. We were talking about last week where we're too hard on things. People should go back and listen to it. I think probably that is a prime example of that because I probably haven't listened to that since 2002, maybe. Like I listened to tunes off, but I just don't remember really liking it. I think it's perennial disappointment from expecting every album to be like Illmatic, and we've never ever got that back. So, but I'm not mad at that. I think it's a fairly decent argument.
I spun that a lot, man. Just before you do your pick, I'll throw out one of Slack's one of Slack's choices.
Which one are you choosing? Because there's some good ones on there.
I'll go with the first one he put, just to make it clear. So the first one he put was that Bad Boy is overrated as a label. Many of their artists only dropped one good album at best. And he put no Biggie, no Bad Boy. How you feel about that?
I 150% agree with that, to be honest. I think, testament to that is that Biggie's been dead for like over 20 years, and his albums, even the ones that have been like cobbled together from the vaults and released, sell better than anybody else on that label. I think Craig Mack's first album was all right, considering the time. Macy's first album, I'm not going to go like some of these people have gone, you need to go back and listen to it as a classic. It's not. It's all right. There's 4 or 5 really good tunes on there. Other than that, it's pretty dire. Black Rob's album was okay. G Dep's album was not very good. Who else did they have?
Loon. Did Loon drop something on there?
Yeah, Loon wasn't good either. I mean, Loon was just a Mace clone, basically, wasn't he?
Yeah. And was Harlem World on there? I don't think was Harlem World. No, they was on Entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah, that was on Entertainment, I think. I'm trying to think who else. Shine's.
I was never a big Shine fan.
Albums. I'll say he's got maybe. I mean, was his first album? Or was that the only one that was on Bad Boy? Because there was some issue after that, wasn't there? Because he went to.
I don't think the second one was on Bad Boy. Weren't the second one independent?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of them was on Def Jam. I know one was on Def Jam.
That must have been the second one. Then.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's right. Every artist who's had a career has had one half decent album, and everything else has been rubbish, other than Biggie.
Locks. We forgot about Locks' first one, which I'm not a big fan of anyway.
That first album of theirs was god awful in comparison.
Bro, give me three tracks off of it. Money, Power, and Respect is still for me an elite. Like it's incredible.
It's a great song. Great
track, I mean, but give me about 3 songs of that album and you can keep it. Like I ain't feeling that album at all. I mean, I was bitterly disappointed with that.
Yeah, so I
No
can't
Way
argue.
Out. No Way Out was good. No Way Out was good.
Yeah. I mean, Good's a bit of a stretch. It's all right.
No Way Out was good, bro. No Way Out was a good album. I think there was a lot of heat.
It's carried. No Way Out is carried by Biggie features. So you've got what's the so Young G's with Jay-Z.
Young G,
phenomenal.
Incredible, yeah. The Twister track. You got obviously
all Benjamins.
All About the Benjamins. You got obviously the first track where Biggie's kicking it off. Victory.
Yeah, but other than that,
I mean, I agree in a sense where for a whole label that gets the accolade it gets, there's not many classic albums on it. And if you're comparing labels to each other, if you're looking at the amount, you're not really looking at the artist on the label. You're looking at the classics, the classic albums that label's put out, and it hasn't put out a lot.
If you put Death Row from 92 to say 97 up against Bad Boy from 92 to 97,
head and shoulders. Yeah, head and shoulders. Yeah. I will say this though. I will say this about Bad Boy, and I've said this for a while. I think and Slack's right. No Biggie. I mean, people will argue Mace from 97, whatever, but Biggie is Bad Boy. We know that to the point where Biggie died. Puffy tried to change the dead Bad Boy, innit? It was called Arista. Was it Arista? What did he call it after Bad Boy? Yeah. After
Arista was on. Bad Boy was on Arista, weren't they? Because
but he weren't using Bad Boy for a little while after Biggie died, because he was like, no Biggie, no Bad Boy. But the thing I will say about Bad Boy is that I think as an R&B label, it's brilliant.
Very good.
Yeah. You got like classics. You've got multiple classics in the R&B world. From that, you got 2 from 112, a couple from Faith. You got Total. You got good R&B albums, man. I think in that sense,
Carl Thomas' first album is really good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I think R&B wise, Bad Boy is an incredible label. But So shout out to Slack on that one. That was a good one. So what you got, bro? What's your next one?
Okay, so I'm gonna stick with my rappers theme. So Outkast. Like, I know I'm probably not alone on this hill. There's probably a few people on this hill with me, but Big Boy is as integral to Outkast as Andre 3000. I would say he is easily as good as Andre 3000, and I think you could argue that he's maybe better because he actually has a catalogue of solo material to choose from, and I don't think I haven't got all of his solo albums, but that none of them are bad albums.
Agreed.
And the last one he did with Sleepy Brown, or was it the Big Sleepover? Something like that. For me, that was fairly close to kind of a peak Outkast album without Andre 3000 on it, as we've had in a long time. I think if you listen to some of those tracks on that album and you're like, oh, if Free Stacks had a verse on this, it would go off. But I don't like how there's been like an erasure of Big Boy in hip hop and his contribution to Outkast, because obviously we were outside when they dropped. You were outside. I was outside. Slack was outside. We know what was going on. I don't remember at one point anybody having a conversation of going, who's better out of these two? Andre's like levels above Big Boy, right? Like nobody ever had that conversation. It was like, yeah, it was like, you know, nobody had that conversation about Mobb Deep. Who's better, Havoc or Prodigy? Like, I mean, Prodigy had his own, I guess, aura, kind of like Andre developed, but they were a group. You would never go, well, Havoc is like the weak link there, just like you'd never go Big Boy is the weak link in Outkast. And the disrespect just annoys me, man. I just don't understand how you rate somebody so highly off of a few spotty guest appearances over the years and no catalogue of their own at all.
You know what it goes to? It goes to the Quick and Dre discussion again. I think if you're how can I word this? If you're looking at Outkast impact and you're looking at them as solos, Dre's got those verses where like those iconic verses and those moments of Mardi Gras, and he's just so eccentric and he stands out. But your point was that Big Boy is as integral to Outkast as Andre is, and I couldn't agree more. Like for me, I feel like Big Boy, and this is where I put he joined me on that hill. I actually think rapping wise, Big Boy is a better rapper than Dre. Like
I agree.
The swag, the style, the flow, that like Big Boy is insane. But I think where Dre gets it is that he's deeper. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's more intellectual with his hip hop. It makes you think. It's more, and you know, I think done it as well. And you're right. He was outside when Outkast dropped. And if I'm honest with you, the first person that caught my attention was Big Boy, right? And I think I'm not saying this is the gospel. Do you know what I mean? But from my recollection, I feel like when people like Jay-Z started giving Dre a lot of accolades, that's when it started all of the Dre's the greatest. Do you know what I mean? Because it was almost like Jay went through a stage where he weren't really giving people accolade like that, Jay-Z. But then he started bigging up Andre a lot. And I feel like it started a momentum of everyone thinking, not that people weren't thinking it before, but it almost became the cool thing to say that Andre's this, Andre's that. And obviously he's incredible. He is. But I agree with you, man. I think if you're looking at them as a package, Big Boy is no weak link. Like, and it's not even like, he's got weak verses. He doesn't. Like, for me, when you listen to something like 80 Aliens as well, Big Boy's going crazy all over that. Like
100%, man. That was my first introduction to Outkast, that album, as you know. And same as you, like the things off the album that catch me are Big Boy verses or Big Boy bars. Like it's not saying Dre hasn't got any that I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's undeniable,
But it's like it is the swag of that album and like, especially Over the Woods, like Big Boy rides that beat, man.
Bro. That's just one of my favorite tracks off that album, man. Listen, that's what I mean. That's a really good choice, man. I agree fully, man. And I was having that discussion with someone about Helter Skelter as well. Like over time, it's become short. I know at first a lot of people was probably like rock, but over time it's become
Sean Price,
Sean P. But it's like, you know what I mean? But you got to be careful with that, man. Especially with a duo, with a group like Wu-Tang or something. It's not as detrimental. But with a duo, you got to be careful with that, man, because you're just making one of the members feel obsolete, and it's like Dre's not. I'm sorry, Big Boy is not that, man.
No. Ironically, that thing with Jay-Z, like championing in Dre, like, but then he's done a song with Big Boy on Blueprint 2, and
Close, exactly, and I always felt like it's funny because I always felt like when I first heard that song, because obviously Jay was talking that talk from before, and I always felt like maybe Dre weren't available or something, but I felt like Jay wanted Andre on it. Do you know what I mean? Or both of them. But it ended up being just Big Boy. But I thought that it's true. Okay, do you wanna give a choice for Slack?
Yeah.
His other one.
Okay. This is. I'm gonna do because I know he's gonna want to do this. Murder Inc. was a terrible label.
All right, Murder Inc. was a terrible label. Okay.
Do you know what? I'm not going to even argue because I've joined him on that hill. I think, to be honest.
See, commercially, and we're not talking numbers. We don't do that.
No.
Commercially, Murder Inc. would be one of the greatest hip hop labels commercially. But we're not talking commercially. We're not talking numbers. And I know exactly why Slack would say that, because he mentioned Bad Boy at first. And we said you got your Biggie albums. You still got a lot of big albums. So Biggie is Bad Boy. But then we said R&B. The R&B side of it is incredible. There isn't that to Murder Inc. Murder Inc. is Ja Rule. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you ain't no, not technically. Not technically. I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know what word to use, but when you think of Murder Inc., I know you've got Charlie Baltimore, you got Vita, you got who else? You got Cadillac. Yeah, you got all these artists, but let's keep it real. When someone says Murder Inc., it's Ja Rule. Yeah. So if you're not a Ja Rule fan, Murder Inc. ain't nothing for you. That's why when I saw Nas was about to go over there in the early noughties, I was like, Nas at Murder Inc. That's just weird. But yeah, I ain't even gonna argue with that, to be honest. I mean, commercially, one of the greatest. But if we're just talking as fans of hip hop, unless you're a Ja Rule fan, unless you really like Ja Rule, Murder Inc. ain't got nothing for you.
I just had a little bit of an issue with Murder Inc. because I picked up Veni Vici when it came out, because I know Ja Rule had done some songs with Jay and DMX, and that was a one off Rush Hour. Can I Get Out? I love that tune. That was a banger.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So I picked that up, and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that's the worst album I've ever heard. It's all right. Like there's some, but it's quite street. It's like sugar-free DMX, I guess, is probably the best. The best way to describe it. And I always remember I read an article in XXL when they you remember they did the front cover and it was JX and Ja Rule on the front.
Yeah, because they were meant to be a group, isn't it? It was meant to be a group.
I remember they spoke to Gotti in that interview, and it was saying that he wanted to push Ja as someone who's not quite as grimy as X, not quite as flossy as Jay. And I'm like, so you've got a marketing plan for this guy? Like, I don't really.
Yeah, of course.
Why can't he just be who he is? And then that album. It sold, but it didn't do commercially amazingly. It didn't set the world on fire. But then his next album comes out, and it's completely shifted, and it's R&B hip hop. Like,
that's what done it. That's what done it.
Yeah. And for me, I was like,
Shanty. Sorry, shout out Ashanti as well. I forgot. Murder Inc. Shanty.
Yeah.
R&B side of it. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, that first Ja Rule.
Yeah, go on. Sorry, man.
No. I was just saying that first Ja Rule album is probably the only one I could probably shout out to Jane Flame. She used to work on Choice and Black Spot from Double XL magazine. I used to be cool with them, and I remember like they was bigging up that first Ja Rule album a bit, and I was like, I just can't really get into it, but out of Ja Rule's project, that's the one that I would go back to.
It's the least bad.
It's the least radio kind of. Ja Rule doing his thing, and it's funny because I was having this discussion. Shout out this other group chat I'm in. Shout out Nick, used to be on Twitter. Yince, a few other heads. When we was having that discussion around Ja Rule, I think he's treated harshly in a sense of he did his thing. Do you know what I mean? Not to me, but still, he said we can still recognize things that are deemed as classics. Ja Rule's second, third, fourth album, they were huge. Do you know what I'm saying? They were huge, and he did his thing, and he dropped them year after year. Like, he done his thing. He found his lane. He was almost like a Drake. He found his lane, stuck to it, done his thing. I'm just not a fan. But even those albums, if you don't mind a bit of the whole poppy thing, they was okay in themselves. But for what we're talking about, Murder Inc. was just Ja Rule. And I mean, take away Ashanti. And if
I couldn't
Ja
tell
Rule
you any albums from any of the other.
This is what I mean.
artists.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from Ashanti. Yeah. So yeah.
The closest one they did, didn't they do they did like a compilation, I think. It was like
I've actually got both of those albums.
He presents the Murderers or something. Was that?
Yeah. They're actually I was gonna say I've got two. He done two. I've only got three. No, not including the Shinies. I've got a couple of Shiny albums, but I've only got maybe 3 Murder Inc. albums in my possession, like physicals, and that's the 2 ones that you mentioned, the Earth Gotti Presents and Ja Rule's First. That's it. But yeah, and that's it. And to go back to what we're saying about the whole Murder Inc. thing, I think that probably would have worked as a group, them as a group.
Yeah,
I think they would have ticked all, like, just met different levels. Do you know what I mean? The radio, the street, the whatever. But as a label, Irv knew what he wanted to do, and that's what he went to do, and he done it successfully with Ja Rule. You know what I mean?
And it was a good idea until 50 dropped, and then it was all over.
Yeah, exactly, man, all over. Exactly. Okay, so that was Slack's choice. I'm going to go with one from me now. You know what? I'm going to go with this one because of the sake of the title of the podcast, man. Let's keep it real. And I know I'm going to get hate for this one because I see it on the timeline all the time. People are shallow that think like this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go on.
I'll die on that hill. Beats over bars. And the reason I'll say that, right? Anyone who knows me will tell you I'm not a shallow person. Like, anyone who knows me will know how much I love lyrics, like how lyrical I am. And I love lyrics. Like, I love intricacies. And I'm not just talking about clever stuff. I mean, I love intricacies. I love content. All that's important to me. So in an ideal world, you want dope production, dope lyrics. That's what you want. That's what hip hop should be, right? But if I had to choose one, I'm not talking about like just rubbish like Soulja Boy or just like meaningless, weak lyrics. I don't mean like that. But what I'm saying is, if I had to pick, I say beats over bars. Reason being is because it's nothing to do with being shallow or being too lyrics being too deep. That's nonsense, man. The reason I say that is because, let's keep it real. Here's 2 examples. You take Group Home's Living Proof, yeah, and you take Cannabis's first album, Cannabis. Which is the classic?
Group Home.
Group Home's the classic, right? Lyrically, which one's better?
Cannabis.
If you had both those 2 albums in your hand right now, which one are you probably going to play first?
Group Home.
Right. That's all my argument is. That's the reason I say. That's the reason I say beats over bars, because if you want to go back to an album, most of the time it's going to be the production that helps that album do well. Group Home, sorry, I don't care what no one said. It's lyrically weak, yeah, but the production on it is so incredible. Phenomenal, it's a classic. Yeah. Cannabis is lyrically, he don't put a foot out of place on that album lyrically, which is why I mentioned it on last week's We Were Too Harsh. Yeah. But is it a classic? I know someone somewhere will say it is, but do you revisit it a lot? No. So the point I'm making is that sometimes lyrics alone can't hold an album.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree, because sometimes, like, I've got, you know, I'm into lyricism. You know, I listen to a lot of like highbrow MCs, but if the music is not right on the accompanying track, then I think you tune out a little bit of like what they're actually trying to say. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, back in the day when you had like Jigs will attest to this, like the old school Redman albums, like, and it would make you rewind all the time because he said something that you were like spazzing out over. did he just say? But if that wasn't Eric Sermon's production, then would you have caught it? Because you're nodding along with it and you're like subconsciously taking in like the lyrics.
Yeah.
Whereas if the beats aren't hot, then you're searching for the meaning in the lyrics. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes
and
a little bit of the enjoyment.
Yeah. You're not going to go back to it as much as you like the lyrics. You be praying for Pete to get involved to do a remix or something because you're like, I actually can't listen to that. You see what I'm saying?
You know what? That Cannabis album's a prime example because there's a bar in that I remember where he does like sums. He does maths in the so it's like I can turn 360 into 720 instantly, and then does it.
Nigonometry.
I always remember that. But I can't remember the tune that it's on. I can't remember the beat of the song or anything like that. I always remember that bar. So
this is what I mean. So this is why I say that. So many people like, oh, that's shallow. But now, when you think about it, when you go back, it's at the end of the day, what do you call this whole thing that we're talking about? It's music.
Music.
It's not poetry. Yeah. It's music. You see what I'm saying? So on a whole, it's going to be the music that brings you back to it. It's the musicality of it that you know what I mean, the replay value. And you could have the best lyrics in the world, but there's no replay value in that. So you don't go back to it. So this is why I say beats over bars. Obviously, and I'll say it clear for anyone that don't get it. We want both. That's what we want. But if you had to pick, man, beats over bars. But
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. The explaining it like that.
Yeah, man.
Is it my turn? Yeah, it is my turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna die on this hill. There is no such thing as a GOAT list at all. Because you will never, ever come up with a top 3 or 5 or 10, whatever, that everybody's going to agree with. So everybody's all-time list is just that. It's their all-time list. Like, so my top 3 will be different to yours. It'll be different to Slack's. You have a consensus top 10 or top 50 best rappers or whatever. And 2/3 of those top 50 ones, I'll be like, these people don't belong on this list. Or you've got a top 50 worst rappers, and like half of that list, I'm like, well, these are brilliant. Like, why are they on the list?
I've been ludicrous on a top 50 worst rappers list. Ludicrous, you know.
Ludicrous.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't think there is a GOAT list. I don't think you could. It's a personal preference. Like, I think it's a lot harder to say. Like, if you have like who's the best football player ever or whatever, or who's the best boxer, you can generally agree. You can, because it's statistical. Like, this many fights won, this many belts, whatever, this many goals scored. But all-time greatest MCs is personal preference. That's all it is. Right? And everybody's ear is different.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not lying to you, bro. That was on my list, but I worded it differently. I just put there's no. Yeah, I swear, I put there's no such thing as best, just favorites. And in a nutshell, that's what you're saying. That you can't bring best into the discussion, like you rightly said, bro. And I've said this before. When you're looking at sports, you've got statistics. You don't have that, and you can't use record sales in music because it means you can't use record sales to say that they've sold the most, they're the best. You can't do that in music. In sports and stuff like that, you can. You can't do that in music because there's too many different factors that contribute to that. Yeah. But I agree, man. Yeah, I agree. There's no such thing as greatest. Fully agree. I couldn't agree with you more, bro. I'm with you on that.
I think
someone put a list out recently. Go
on. No, go on.
I was going to say someone put a list out recently, the best albums of 2025. I'm like, bro, it's February.
Yeah.
So it's like nearly every album that's been released was on the list. It's like, mate, just let's not get so hung up on lists, man. Just like let the year build up a bit. There's so many people are trying to create these lists and the greatest and the best and the this and that. Listen, man, like come on, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't do that with everything, man. You can't do it with everything.
And you know, you can't. There's some factors that you can't change. I mean, like you've got. So Biggie's my goat. Like I don't think it's ever going to change. I feel like there's probably a lot of people that agree. There's probably a lot of people that don't. I know Jay's yours, but
yeah,
Biggie's my goat based on the fact that for me he's the most complete MC. Like he could do everything to such an elite level. But I do understand there is a point that he's only really got 2 albums, and do we know that 28 years later? Would he still be releasing albums? Would they still be good? Because if you look at the amount of albums Jay's done, I mean, for the most part, they're solid. But there are a couple that you'll go, well, that ain't as good as Blueprint, or that ain't as good as the Black Album, or, Reasonable Doubt. And like, would Biggie have done 3 or 4 not as good albums by now? Would that have affected his legacy?
100%.
So
100%. I think he would have.
Yeah.
I think it's undeniable. With longevity, you look at the greatest, I don't know, Jordan, LeBron, they're going to have games where they weren't statistically as good as their best games. Like you're going to have points. Like you said, Jay's my GOAT, but I can name you some albums that I think from him are awful. And I think Biggie would have done the same. I think he would have given us probably a couple more classics. Yeah. I think Biggie would have gave us potentially another couple more classics. Yeah. And if you're looking at how he was building, if you compare Life After Death to Ready to Die, lyrically, Biggie was insane on Life After Death. So I think the one to follow would have probably been even better. But in time, yeah, he would have dropped some duds. There's no doubt about it. But it's that, and and it's the same with Pun. Pun's in my top 5, and people are like, "How can Pun be in your top 5?" So like, he's got one album, and because Yeah Baby wasn't great, but lyrically you could hear he was really struggling. But he's got one classic album and Yeah Baby, for me, what you say about Biggie is how I feel about Pun as well. Like as in a complete MC. Pun could be commercial. He was fun. He was street. He was gangster. He was clever. He was humorous.
Yeah,
like, he kind of done it all in that short time. Do you know what I mean?
All in one album as well. Like, and that's the thing. Like
all in one album, and his features his features are crazy.
I'll be with you on with what you're saying about Pun, but it's like you can't if you say Pun's not top 3 or top 5 or whatever, but can you name me 5 people that you think could out-rap Pun?
This is what I mean.
Can't. So
this is what I mean. So nah, man, Pun, lyrically, if you're looking at his features as well, like the couple of years, 97, 98, like he went on a crazy feature run. Like, just ridiculous. But it's a good shout. I'll shout out one from Slack then.
Go on.
This is similar to your one that you said with Outkast. And Slack has put Parrish Smith was just as important to EPMD as Eric Sermon. Agreed.
I mean, I'd agree with that as well.
Yeah, and let's keep it all the way real. Like what we said about Andre and Big Boy, and many of you know my big sister. She's the one who got me into hip hop. She's been on the show as well. She loved off EPMD. Like EPMD and Public Enemy were like her. You know what I mean? It was just incredible to her. So she put me onto EPMD hard. And I think if we're really keeping it real, Parrish was the guy. Like MC wise, like no one looked at Eric as an elite MC. Parrish was the guy. He had the voice, the flow, the bars. Parrish was the one. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, Eric's gone off to just have a tremendous career. There's arguments now that we always credited EPMD's catalog to Eric Sermon production wise. There's arguments now that Parrish done just as much as the production as Eric Sermon. I still don't really believe that. I ain't gonna lie, because Parrish has not gone on to do that again. So did he just stop producing after EPMD then? He did do production, but like he left. EPMD died, and then he hooked up with Solid Scheme, and Solid Scheme done most of the production and like for Das Effects, Hit Squad stuff. And it's like Eric Sermon left and went on to do his own stuff. Redman, Def Squad, all of that, and all the other stuff we know he's done. Like, what did Parish do production wise after that? Which makes no sense to me. If you were 50% involved in the 4 EPMD classics before the breakup, why did you not continue to
You'd at least be dipping your toe into production, like for your solo stuff?
And he did do some, but it don't compare.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm with that.
I think, to be honest, same as you, man. I think Parish was, as a MC, like head and shoulders above Eric Sermon. Still is, because if we have it right, Eric Sermon's still not a very good rapper, but we make allowances because his production is phenomenal. But he's not great, and he never has been. But that's all right. So you know, you'd argue that if they didn't have somebody that could rap as well as Parish, there would be no EPMD, because what you're going to do, you're not going to just listen to Eric Sermon beats with like a whole album of just Eric Sermon is not a good time for anyone.
I hear you, but I like your solo projects though. But I know exactly what you mean. I was having this discussion with my sister a couple months back, and she, like I just said, she loves EPMD, and she did the same thing.
It's the beats that make his solo stuff, though, isn't it? Really?
I guess it goes back to my other point, isn't it? Beats over bars. I guess it's that as well, because I have no issues with Eric Sermon's solo catalogue.
No,
that's the thing. I have all his albums, but I have no. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
This is the thing with hip hop, isn't it? It's like, you know, we grew up listening to albums, and it's like that was all right, and you like it. It's a good album, but now everything has to be good, and it's like, like, you know, Eric Sermon's rapping was never other than mediocre, but his first 2-3 solo albums are good albums because they've got good features on. They've got the beats are phenomenal. He's making his own sound. So I'm not really that bothered by his MC skills not being up to Redman's or Keith Murray's or whoever. Like, you know, I don't care.
If we're honest, man, a lot of average MCs have made great albums. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was thinking about Noriega the other day. I was listening to, like, everyone knows how I feel about War Report, but I was just listening to a lot of CNN and even Noriega solo and that. And I'm like, he's an average rapper at best.
Yeah,
he's average at best. But you know what I mean? He's got a couple classics.
Nori's a great album. War Report's a great album. Like, I just so.
Yeah, average MCs can make great albums. Average MCs can make classics. There's no doubt about that. I mean, so yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, for time's sake, I'll throw out one of mine. What have I got here? I'm just trying to think. Some of them are a bit similar. Okay, so I'm going to go with okay, I'm going to put topic. What I've got is topic should change at a certain age. And the reason why I put that down as I'll die on that hill is because there's a lot of talk about ageism in hip hop, and it's not in rock and roll or pop or whatever. And I fully agree. You don't look at Rolling Stones and any people then say, oh, they shouldn't be doing this. They're this age. Why do we do that with hip hop? So let me just clarify. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't be rapping at 50. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, you came out when you was 20. I know what I was like at 20. I'm sure you know what you was like at 20. That's cool. Be rapping about whatever you're rapping about. I don't want to expect you to be rapping about what you was rapping about at the age of 20 when you're now 50. Like, for me, I think it's lame. And that's why RJ Payne's Barbershop that he dropped about 2 years ago, it's incredible. And he touches on so much of that. Just like age, Little Brother's brilliant for that as well. They've always been like that anyway. Yeah. I love that when you can bring relevance to hip hop. Like, I'm 44 years old right now as we're doing this, right? My mindset is not as it was when I was 24. Yeah, I'm going to be listening to certain things. I'll be honest with you, and let me make this clear. I ain't putting anyone down who still does all that thing. Everyone is different. Maybe you still get enjoyment from it. That's all cool. But listen, I ain't trying to be 44, hanging on the street with my friends, just going to the clubs every weekend, looking for people to jack. looking for
That sounds like
girls.
hell to me, man.
Bro, yeah, like listen, I've got a family. You see what I'm saying? I've got a missus, I got children, I got a job I need to be at, I've got responsibilities. I don't have all day to sit in the project parks and be like, you know what I mean? It's like it's different, man. And what I'm saying is, if I want to hear that, that's cool. Obviously, we have you know what I mean, like memories and all that kind of stuff, nostalgia. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't want to hear a brand new album from an artist that's now 50, and you're talking about that stuff. I mean, do it. That's fine. I'm not telling you what to do, but
Yeah,
for me, I think that's lame. And I think you need to be talking about the relevance of your life. And if you are still doing all that stuff at 50, then that's sad. I don't care.
reevaluate your priorities, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So not ageism, but I think your topics should change with your
Yeah.
age, and that's why Little Brother's last album I loved. They've always been mature anyway, but their last album, May the Lord What?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I did notice this in you remember the Dog Pound album that came out in the last year?
Yeah. Dog Pound for life.
If there's if there's a group that's been unapologetically consistently gangster, they'll be on the list.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I did notice on this new album they were talking like Corrupt's a granddad now, and they were talking,
what I mean,
stuff like that. Yeah, so like there was elements of like old Dog Pound sprinkled through it, obviously, but there were parts that showed the growth, like and the fact that they've matured and that they've got different priorities in life now, and and it's nice to hear, like, because you know we are of a similar age to a lot of the people we grew up listening to, and it's nice to see their evolution as well as like your own, I guess. So
exactly.
I agree with
that. Great point.
Yeah.
Do you want to throw a Slack one and one of yours as well?
All right, I'll do a Slack one first. Death Squad is too good for that just okay album that they dropped.
El Nino. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. As a camp, they're incredible. You know what I mean? Eric Sermon on the boards, Keith Murray, we know, Redman, we know. And I'll say Jamal, man. A lot of people don't include Jamal when they talk about Death Squad. Yeah. You know, you're right. They should have gone us.
Final Countdown is one of the best hip hop tunes ever.
Yeah,
like I'll die on that hill. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, man. I agree with that. I agree with that.
But you know what? Like, I will disagree a little bit with him because, like, I love that album. Like, I don't think it's just okay. I think it's good. Like, I think the expectations were probably a bit higher than was delivered, but I still think it's a good album, man. I think if I remember, I'm sure that got like 4 mics. Yeah, it did. It did take too long. I don't think we should have waited. But
we needed that 95, 96.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was a couple of years too late, but I like it. And like I say, Final Countdown is one of my favorite joints of all time. Like I just cannot. I can wheel that back like 10 times in a row and still not get bored of it, man.
I love when Chat do that. Yeah.
It's banging.
Yeah, man. I agree with that.
So we all agree on that.
I'll tell you what, bro. Before you do your last one, just throw out one more from Slack. You know the one, the Drake one,
okay.
and then do your last one. So,
Drake gets light skin privileges. He was never, ever among the best rappers. I'll just add another ever on the end of that. Like, never at all.
Ever. Yeah, I don't know how. Once again, it's just fallen in this rating hip hops by commercial success, because Drake is not an elite MC. I don't care who on Twitter says he is or who else says it. Drake is not an elite MC. He has a few good punchlines, and he's good with the melodies as a singer. And I think he makes good albums in the sense of musically, he knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? He's found his lane like Ja Rule, and he does it well. I've never had the issues with Drake that everyone else has. Like, for me, I look at him as a pop artist. I don't have a problem with him. It's your hardcore hip hop fans that are like, oh, Drake, this Drake. He's just doing his thing. I don't have a problem with him. But I'm not gonna mention Drake when I'm talking about hardcore hip hop or elite lyricism. I'm not mentioning Drake. Same with Wayne. I'm not mentioning Wayne. To be honest, they're punchline rappers.
Problems for me, not so much with him or his music. It's how he's perceived. Like I don't know where he came from and I can't pinpoint any of the music that he's dropped that would necessitate this opinion that people seem to have about him. Like I can't see it. Like, and I don't think that I'm being a hater by not seeing it. I'm just like pinpoint where he came, like, because from his first album to now, like I can't tell you what tune or what feature or what album has given the world this perception that Drake is some sort of goat in terms of hip hop.
It sales, bro. It sales.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he's a very popular pop artist, but he's not outbarring fucking anyone. He could outbar anyone. Like, and just I don't know. It just seems like if you're saying Ja Rule wasn't really hardcore enough because he was like commercial, poppy, whatever, Dre's like a watered down version of that. Do you know what I mean?
They remind me of each other. Yeah. I put them in the same category. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I just don't get it. But he does get privilege that I don't think any other rappers would get, which is bizarre. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Like I said, I don't have a huge problem with it, man. I just don't. I'm not a fan. And I ain't gonna lie. I've said it before. There was a period of time where I thought I was getting into him, and I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, there was a period of time, and I say that weren't the mixtapes, it weren't the first album. It was Take Care, because two of my brethren, shout out V and Abe, they're big fans, and they was like, nah, man, like they're big fans of Drake and Wayne, and I never was. They was like, nah, like, you know what I mean? Get involved, man. I'm like, okay. So I remember they was like, listen, Take Care had just dropped, so I listened to Take Care. And I ain't gonna lie, I thought Take Care was decent. I mean, there's a lot of singing all over it. He's a pop artist.
Yeah, there's a couple of decent tunes on Take Care.
And I thought, okay, this ain't terrible. And then I think after Take Care, was it Views that he dropped?
Yeah.
And you know, obviously he's got super smashes on there. So there was a little period of time where I thought Drake's cool. But then I quickly came off of that train because he became very annoying, because it was like, you can think you like him or you can think he's decent, but then I just got to a point where I couldn't tolerate his sort of whiny, stingy type of. I was just like, nah, he actually annoys me now. I can't actually. I've done the same thing with Logic. There was a period of time where I thought Logic actually, he can rap, and he can rap. I don't care anyone says Logic can rap, but there's a period of time where I thought, I might be getting into Logic, but then quickly he began to annoy me. And okay, it's weird. You know, it's just sometimes artists you might think, do I like them? You're like, nah, I don't think I do. But yeah,
but that's all right, man. Because occasionally an artist you don't like will bring out a tune that you do.
Right.
Right.
Exactly that.
But
yeah, I hear that. All right, so we'll drop one more quick one each, and then we'll wrap up. Who you got, bro?
All right. Okay. I've got a couple, but I'm gonna go for one.
You can throw them out, bro. Throw them out if you want.
So, all right. So, one is like a good MC doesn't equally necessitate a good artist.
Yep.
Like, so Big L, prime example of that. Phenomenal MC, but I don't think he really would have been commercially popular. Sales don't equate talent. Yeah, we've kind of discussed that. I think this is probably going to annoy some people, but Kendrick and Cole don't deserve the ratings that they have, like, currently in rap. I don't feel like they deserve it. J. Cole especially. I just think we're celebrating. I'm not saying Kendrick's mediocre, but we celebrate mediocrity nowadays. And people that are good or talented are automatically thrown up with all this pressure of like they're the GOATs. Like Kendrick, I like Kendrick. I've got most of his albums. I still don't really listen to any past the first two, and he is great. You can't deny the year he's had, but realistically, if Kendrick dropped in the 90s, where would he have been?
Bro, I feel like I want to call my wife to come and sit here right now, bro. I swear to you, we was sitting down having that exact same discussion not too long ago. We was talking about the whole Kendrick thing, and I said the same thing. Don't get me wrong, and he was actually on my list. That was going to be my last one. Kendrick can rap. There's no doubt about that. But for me, I feel like, bro, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we was discussing. Exactly what I said. I said if you picked him up as he is right now. Yeah. And I'm not saying everything about the 90s was great because there was a lot of whack rappers in the 90s. We know that. But I feel like if you picked up Kendrick right now and dropped him in the 90s, bro, he's not getting the accolades he's getting now. No. The reason he's getting it now is because there's a lot of mediocre now.
Yeah.
We're not surrounded by greatness.
He's a cut above the rest, I think.
Right.
But if you put in terms of being able to bar, like, is he miles better than Defari or Dilated Peoples or people like that? Like, and he isn't. Like, I'm not saying he's worse, but he's around that sort of level for me, I think. Like, I think it's due to the sort of collapse of quality control, I guess, is that him. Like, look, Good Kid, Mad City is a great album. That's a West Coast classic. I'm never going to argue that isn't a brilliant album. To Pimp a Butterfly conceptually is brilliant. Like, not many artists are brave enough to do that. But other than that, and Cole, I think J. Cole is, I don't think, as talented as Kendrick. I don't think he's as good as his fan base think he is. He's a good rapper, but he's not this like all-knowing oracle, really smart. Oh, you've got to really dissect his. No, you haven't got to dissect his lyrics. I know what he's saying. They're just.
This is what I'm saying, bro. This is it.
And for me, his best album is still Forest Hills Drive, which is 11 years old.
Yeah. See, and when you was talking about Kendrick before, that's what I was thinking as well about. Sorry, when you talk about Drake getting the accolades he gets, I was thinking, okay, it's for them to be the top three, Kendrick, Cole, and Drake. It shows you, because I'd say in our era, the top three was Biggie, J, and Nas. Now you take that top three, respectfully, you take Biggie, J, and Nas, and stand them up against Drake, J, Cole, and Kendrick. Come on, like it's leagues differences there, and I just don't. Kendrick's dope, but for me, I actually prefer Cole out of Cole and Kendrick. I prefer listening to Cole, and I'm not going to get into the time take. But my last point was that I think I'll die on a hill where I said I think Kendrick does too much on his songs. Just rap, bro. Like, be deep, fine, but he does too much. The voices, the variations, it's just, I don't like it. But anyway, I feel like Cole is just a better straight up rapping MC. For me.
I'd agree with that.
And I think, do you know what I mean? So in that sense, and another reason why I think Kendrick, and it's not even hating, but for me, I think bar for bar, I don't think Kendrick's even the best on his label. Do you see what I'm saying? And so for me, I feel like, he's more talented, he's more musically received, he's the star. But I think Absol, bar for bar, is a better MC than Kendrick.
Absol's a better MC. I think Reason's better than Kendrick, to be fair, as an MC. Like, but it's just, I he's not. I don't dislike him. I really like him, but they're not. Neither of them are what people make them out to be.
What they're like for me is I agree. But bro, we're gonna wrap up for time's sake. But Snatch just sent a message through. Do you want to read that one out as we close?
What we got?
Read it word for word.
Oh, and fuck DJ Khaled. I hope you see this while you're recording.
So
Also,
to Slack.
let me add my cosign to that. Fuck DJ Khaled.
Yeah, listen, man, I don't even know what he does. Like somebody said that the other day, man. What did he even? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so there you go, man. We'll wrap up for time's sake. We hit that hour mark, but yeah, man, I'll die on that hill, or for the sake of censorship, alone on that hill. And I know you all have opinions, so yeah, throw some underneath the comments, whatever you. And let's keep it real, man. A lot of people nowadays, because think about when you was just outside listening to hip hop, whatever, talking with your friends or whatever, there was never that fear of wanting to fit in, or never that fear of being scared to say what you liked or what you felt because the rest of the group won't agree with you. Social media's created a lot of wimps, man. Stick to your opinion, man. I'm not saying you can't change your mind. Of course you can. Of course you can change your mind. I'm not saying that, but I mean, a lot of people don't say what they really feel because fear of being ostracized from the hip hop community. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't need no robots here, man. This ain't iRobot. You know what I'm saying? This is
the way I grew up. I was alone on that hill, just for liking hip hop. So
there you go.
You know, I just think if you've got an opinion, just stick to it, man. Just say it with your chest, and don't be scared of debate.
Definitely, man. Definitely. But yeah, so thank you for rocking with us again for another week. My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip hop and not just the hype. We will be back with you again next week. So continue to share, like, whatever it is, man. For all of you that tap in every week, we appreciate it. And so from me, E Major, peace and blessings. And from Potter.
Yeah, peace from me as well. Hope everybody has a decent week, and normal service will be resumed as soon as Mr. Slack returns from the United States, if he's not taken and held without trial. So,
yeah, man. All right, man.
We'll see you later.
Man.
Yeah,
peace.
take care.